What is going on, guys? It's 8 Beers today, and today I got the Stamsorc meta PvP build for the Ascending Tide patch. So for this Sorc build, I wouldn't really say it's meta besides the sets I use. The sets are pretty meta, but the rest of the build is kind of different from what other people would be running on Stamsorc. So let's get into the gear. So for our monster set, we use Belorg's Heavy Helm and Arm Cops Medium Armor, and Penetrate on Arm Cops and Reinforced on the Heavy Helm. The rest of our body, we have Heavy Trainee Reinforced. You want to use one trainee. Then we have Essence Thief. We have 3 Essence Thief on the body right now. We have the bracers, the belt, or the boots. Next up, we have the legs of Plague Break, because we're using a mythic, so we're going to want 1 plague on the body. So that's our body right there. So we have Essence Thief, we have 3 on the body, and then we have the Resto Staff. The Resto Staff's the back bar. We're going to be using Defending trait for Essence Thief. And I have Absorb Magicka on the trait. You could do Absorb Stam, but I like getting big magic return when I do a heavy attack on my Resto bar. So our front bar is going to be Dual Wield Maces of Plague Break. I do 1 Nern, 1 Sharpened. You could do Charge with a Shock Enchant, but I just do Sharpened because I like to have really good penetration, especially with all these toxic like heavy armor builds or like max resistance builds out here. Zero, I like to have really good penetration, so I like Sharpened. For our jewelry, we have Plague Break Amulet. The necklace is going to be infused with weapon damage. We have a mythic Marking Ring of Majesty. It's going to have weapon damage with infused trait. And then we have Plague Break Ring with infused with weapon damage trait. Now for the food, we're going to be using Orzorga's, and it's the max health Stam Recov one. Now I did try out the gold version of this where it gives you mag recov as well, but I don't know. I don't feel like I like having a lot of Stam Recov because I could just do 1 heavy attack and get a bunch of magic back. And most of our abilities are from stamina anyway, so it's good to have really good Stam Recov, even though we have Dark Deal. For our potions, we use Speed Pots with immovability. So we basically become immune to knockbacks, and we get Major Expedition, and we restore Stam and get Stam Recov. Now you could use Tripods if you want, like it would give you more magic recov, more sustain in general. But I just like this, 'cause I like to be really fast when I'm kiting and stuff, when I'm Xing. So I recommend using Speed Pots. Now our Mundus Stone, we use the Warrior. I think it's by far the best on this build because Sorcs have so much passives that increase your weapon and spell damage, or just your weapon damage in general. And Fighters Guild has weapon damage percentage increase as well, so I like the Warrior because it really gets really buffed up on the build. Next up, we got the CP. So let's get into the slottables. The 4 slottables I use is Fighting Finesse, crit damage and healing by 10%. Master at Arms, 10% damage done. Now, I don't know why they always say direct damage attacks. It's literally just damage done in general. Like, I don't know why they put direct damage attacks. Because if you think about it, everything in the game is direct damage. Like, what is not direct? AoE is direct. Dots, direct. Single target, direct. Like, so Master at Arms will be used for that. Ironclad, reduce your damage taken by 10% from direct damage attacks, which is basically all damage in general. Duelist Rebuff, 10% damage reduction from single target attacks. So that is our slottables. We have these. I'm not going to go over all the passes, but we have these right here. Want to get all these right here. Get all them good passives. Get this healing one down here inside that tree. Get the crit one. Get the penetration one. Get your martial, your mighty. Now for the red tree, our slottables. Celerity. Now this is a very good one. Like this movement speed you really want, so you don't have to use Swift Jewelry. So I use Celerity. 10% movement speed. Pain's Refuge. This is really strong. I don't know if they're going to nerf this next patch. I didn't really look into it. But reduce your damage taken by 2% for every 2 negative effects. So if you're sitting there getting pounded by a Zerg, you're basically getting a 20% damage reduction, which is really strong. Fortified, get your little armor buff right there. Vitality, get your health. And for the passes, we have Boom Boom, Bop Bop, Bop Bop, Bop, Bop. Now the green tree, the best tree in the game. By far, dude. So we have Gifted Rider, 10% mouse speed, and we have this, get some 30 minutes on our food and drink. Very strong, very efficient. Then we have Liquid Efficiency, so we sometimes don't use a potion. It uses it, but like it don't use the actual potion itself. Then we have the movement speed out of combat. It's our force audibles for this tree. Also, you want this. 35 reduced damage from fall damage. You want this 100%. Break fall is so strong. Especially if you're cutting zergs off a keep. You don't get hit by a random 15k fall damage from like a foot jump. I'm gonna go ahead and show you the build buffed up. We're out here on build mountain. Let's go ahead and see what we look like buffed up in Melvor right here. I'm just gonna block until I get some good ult. Okay, so we got our ult. So let's see what we look like buffed up. The Donnie. Okay, so I almost forgot to not include the attributes. So our attributes is 55 in stamina and 9 in health. And our race is going to be, or for our buffed up stats, we have 7,200 weapon damage. This is only with, I think, 150 ult I used for my Dawnbreaker. Our penetration is 10k, which is pretty nice, I think I might have forgot to pop Hurricane, but our spell resistance is 27k and physical resistance 27k. Like 27.5 kind of, but that's what we look like buffed up. Okay, for the skills, we got the front bar. We use crystal weapon as our spammable, bound armaments as our extra damage we have, and this actually is extremely hard, so I recommend keeping this up all the time. I would usually pop this before you hit a crystal weapon and go light attack somebody. So what you're gonna want to do is use this into a crystal weapon and then use whirling blades as your execute. I use Camouflage Hunter for the extra 5% damage from hitting someone from behind. Shriek, that's going to be our CC. Dawnbreaker of Smiting, that's going to be our another CC in our ultimate. On our main burst, especially on big groups that are trying to take us down. Back bar, resto bar. I use Crit Surge. Now if you want, you could run weapon damage potions and then use Race Against Time for the major movement speed. But I use Speed Pot, so I just use Crit Surge for some extra heals and as my buff. Vigor, of course. Resolving Vigor, don't be using Echoing, my guy. Radiant Regen, I use this for group play, and if you're not going to do group play, if you're going to go solo on this build, I would use the other morph. Hurricane, this is going to give us our major resolve and our minor expedition, and actually ticks pretty hard too, so Hurricane. Dark Exchange, where we use our magicka and turn it into a stamina. It's actually a really good heal as well. Negate, I use this for group play because I play with my boy who drops necro ults on people and then I just negate into it. But you could also use Atcher on your back bar so you get the passive 20% health and stamina recover on your back bar. Okay, so we're out here on a red resource. I'm gonna show you what I usually do on the build. So this build is very, very strong at wiping groups. So always make sure your Hurricane and Crit Surge is up. And if you need to heal, heavy attack into a Vigor Radiating Regen. Heavy attack, boom, boom. Now look at them heals tick. That's uncrits, by the way. If those crit, it would be so much higher. So what you want to do is when you're fighting somebody, you basically want to get a light attack in or do your heavy attack heal. Let's go pick this fucker up, buff up, hit him with a crystal weapon into a Donnie or something, and it just smacks. It just smacks. But it's pretty simple. If you're out of stam, use Dark Exchange. If you're out of magic, heavy attack. Let me show you what it looks like if I get the zero magic. Or zero magic. Hit one heavy attack. That's 40% magicka. Hit another one. Full magicka. Basically. Then you got magic for stam again. So you're basically like a little hybrid build right here. Your Radiant Regen really doesn't cost that much. Especially if you heavy attack before you use it. Heavy attack, boom. You're basically you're good at casting that for your heals, so it's just really, really strong. So just make sure you're picking up your Essence Thief when it pops to get your 10% damage, and always heavy attack if you need magicka back, and hit the heals for your major mending heals. So what I usually do is heavy attack, Vigor, Radiant Regen if I see a big group. Go pick up the fucking Essence Thief. Come in here with a fat Donnie spin, just bop, 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 and they blow up the plague. That's the build, and I appreciate you guys watching. I'm gonna go ahead and pack up this little mender here, and I'll see you next time.